You're listening to Oilers Nation Radio, presented by the Nation Network.
Jared, what are we listening to here?
This is Damien LaGrange. He's a guy out of Red Deer.
It's funky.
Yeah.
Cam, you're bopping.
Very cool.
Cam, you're
That song's called Medicine. Medicine by Damien LaGrange.
Damien LaGrange.
Shout out
Medicine.
Damien.
Cam, what do you think about this song, though?
Little bit funky.
Now I'm here.
There we go.
I like when Cam doesn't have a mic.
No, you don't like it when I don't have a mic. Don't lie about that. You listen to this podcast exclusively for my content.
I just enjoyed hearing Jared.
Speaking of this podcast, this is episode 26 of Oilers Nation Radio. And as always, we are brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Go ahead, follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood Ford _ the Giant. Again, I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but I want to give another shout out to the fine folks at Sherwood Ford for what they pulled off this week, bringing a young man back to see Connor. Even though he was sick the first time, Chris?
Yes.
He was sick the first time. They drove 5 hours, missed him. He came back. Sherwood Ford made it happen. Connor got the game winner for the young man. I'm guessing he had a very good time. Thoughts?
And then Connor took 2 days off.
Yeah. Shout out to Kent, who is the father of Reed and Charlie, the two kids who made the signs and traveled with the family 5 hours. Kent is hopefully a new fan of the podcast now. He reached out to us yesterday and said he just heard about the podcast and heard that we were shouting him and Sherwood Ford out. So he just passed along a thanks again for all the help from Sherwood Ford and for us promoting it. And hopefully he's listening right now. Hopefully Reed and Charlie are listening right now.
Welcome, Kent, to the listener base, as well as Reed and Charlie. Hope you guys had a great time. Thanks again to Sherwood Ford for making that happen. That was really cool of all of you guys for the initiative, the execution, and everything about it. It was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. So, boys, we haven't had an episode since the trade deadline passed. That was on Monday.
There was a trade deadline?
We had the live blog set up at Oilers Nation. We were ready to go. We were all prepared to produce the content. And what happened, Dan?
Nothing for the Oilers. That's fair.
It was a big deadline, but not for the Oilers.
Was it though?
I think so.
Are you just buying into the hype that the networks want you to believe?
Probably. There's a lot that went down, and there's a lot of new storylines coming up. Columbus is making a huge push for the playoffs now with their
But that happened before the deadline.
Leading up to it.
I think we can call all trades within a 1 week radius of the trade deadline a deadline deal.
I hope that someday TSN goes live for 7 days straight, just waiting for trade deadline.
TSN's technically always live.
That's fair.
Do you think that deadline coverage is going to change based on the fact that nothing really happens on deadline day? Like, wouldn't they be better off doing this for the draft instead?
I agree. I don't think that they will change it though, because Canadians do tune in. We're absolutely obsessed with hockey. And
I mean, we had it on here at the office. We were all watching it. Nothing's happening. We were all keeping an eye on it. It was a little bit boring.
You're way better off just sitting there, put some like ambient music on in the background, keep refreshing that Twitter page, because they're going to have it and it's not going to be on TV for 5 minutes after it's on Twitter.
They're just going to put Eklund back on the broadcast.
However, TSN, I'll give them credit on Free Agent Frenzy, bringing in entertainment throughout the day.
They do little bits. James Duthie tells some jokes.
I think that's what
the Prime Minister on.
Exactly. They're going to have to start doing that for trade deadline.
There's so much more content they could explore that they don't. Like, you could go into really old trades that were really good or really bad. They could do that more, and they can look at trade trees. Like, remember we looked at the Mark Messier one on Oilers Nation and how it now
still alive
hinges on Sam Gagner. It's still there. So, like, go into that kind of content. Don't just sit there and talk about who's going to acquire Lee Stempniak for a 5th round pick this year.
I think my favorite part about deadline day is always how the insiders leave their ringers on.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be live broadcasting, a text goes off, an email, whatever, and you get to hear it.
And they're in the middle of they're in the middle of doing their hit, talking to the camera, and then all of a sudden their phone goes off and they just stop talking.
Yeah, that's your one excuse to be on your phone during a live TV show.
Yeah.
What was your opinion, I'm going to go around the horn here, that the Oilers did not do anything? I'll start. I said it on Real Life on Monday. I thought it was dumb that they did not trade assets like Alex Chiasson. Sure, you may want to retain him. You could probably have brought him back in the summer, though. Little handshake deal, Chris. Say, hey, You go chase another cup, my friend. You come on back in July. We'll talk.
I think Gretzky, by not trading Chase on and Cassian too, will throw his name in there. That was him sending a message that they still want to make a playoff push and they don't want to give him away just for picks. Just like they're not giving up on the year. And I think he was sending a message in his confidence to the team and to the fans.
I wasn't horribly upset by what was done. I know a lot of people are like losing their mind of seeing guys out there. You didn't trade Chase on. This is a failure. As like say, so a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick you're gonna get back as a failure. Like I think everyone's got to calm down a bit here. I know you probably could have moved Cassian or Benning. You would have probably got picks out of it. I think what's better though is to try and move them for actual players, and that's not going to be a trade you can do at the deadline. That's going to be something you can do in the summer around the draft time. That's what I'm kind of assuming was for most guys, is that they're coming out with really, really low end draft picks because you really don't want to give us any type of asset for some guy who's going to be there for a short period of time and may or may not actually help you. We did not actually have that many valuable pieces to move. So yeah, maybe you hold on to them and you try and turn them into something bigger and better come the draft day. Otherwise, I really didn't expect much to happen at all.
But I think it's fair for Oiler fans to have wanted to see action happen. They want to see this rebuild 3.456 start off quickly, and I just don't think it's realistic. And those kind of trades will happen more in the offseason. And
I can understand why they kept Chase on. He's actually a contributing member of the hockey team, but I don't understand this. Oh, well, we didn't want to just give Alex Petrovic away, even though they could have got a whatever for him. He's not even playing. He's not even in the roster last night.
The guy that they traded for Petrovic, Chris Weidman,
the throw-in
got dealt for Sebastian Day, was it?
It was a third-string goalie.
Yeah.
So much akin to what the Oilers acquired for Cam Talbot.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hey, on the bright side, Anthony Stolarz did make his first appearance of 30 minutes or more.
9 more to go
against the Toronto Maple Leafs on, what was that, Wednesday?
And he only allowed 2 goals.
It went very well. Cam?
Yeah, that was... You want to pivot and talk about the trip to Ontario now, or do we want to...
No, what do you got about the trade deadline? What were your thoughts? You were doing NHL numbers, you were doing your thing, you were knocking out the content. What was your overall impression?
I was quite happy they didn't choose to buy. I know one thing we were kind of skeptical of. When they fired Peter Chiarelli, I think we were all very excited because we were terrified at the potential damage he could have done at the deadline. Like, Lord knows what he would trade the 1st round pick for. Like, that would have been pretty scary to see unfold. But then when they brought in Keith Gretzky, Bob Nicholson was still kind of saying like, oh, like we're right in the mix. Like maybe we'll consider buying. And everybody was like, oh God, no, please don't trade the 1st round pick. Please don't trade like Evan Bouchard or anything like that. And they didn't. So I think that's a win personally. Honestly, I'm not upset at standing pat. I think just keeping everything as is kind of their version of internal buying. So it's like, I don't know, let the team be somewhat competitive for the rest of the year. Try to make that last playoff spot, I guess. Just, I mean, who cares about 5th and 6th round picks? They don't mean anything.
When they're talking about buying, though, I don't think they meant to like a rental, kind of like what goes on right now. When they were talking about buying, they're looking at a guy with 2, 3, 4 years of term left who could actually help you. I would have called Ottawa and try and seen what it was gonna take for us to try and get Mark Stone over here. I think that was the type of deal you could make a move on. I would have used our 1st round pick this year because with a guy like Mark Stone, I think he could help out and produce a couple extra points for the team and take us from a lottery pick to something maybe around pick 10 or 12. And if all of a sudden you're using pick 10 or 12 along with next year's pick and you're bringing in a Mark Stone, I think it's fine. I don't think if you bring Mark Stone in, we're going to still be a lottery pick.
But the deal he signed with Vegas simultaneously was
obviously you had to find room for the cash, and maybe I would have said, hey Mark, let's do this. It's going to take me a couple of months to try and figure out our cap issues, but we'll get you down on a piece of paper right now. That is what's going to happen. Let me figure out this shit first, and then we'll get to that. But when they were talking about buying, that's what I think they were never going to go for an actual rental.
They never came through with my prediction that I made last week, which was Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, you did say Tyler Toffoli.
I really thought it was going to happen.
I like that Gretzky just stood pat. I hope he's probably not going to be the next GM of the Edmonton Oilers, so leave that to the next GM to try and make his moves.
I mean, he could be though.
He could be.
Well, I wonder if him
being prepared for it.
If him coming out and he was being pretty pretty wise to come out and say that he doesn't want to trade these players up for draft picks and it's not worth it. And Zach Kassian is a valuable asset, like a rare asset to our team. I wonder if he's obviously showing patience and smarts, so maybe he's lobbying for that position, like for the Oilers just to hire him as GM.
Speaking of new GM, so John Shannon came out and he said the Oilers are now in phase 3 of their search for GM, and phase 3 involves going out and asking rival executives about the people they're interviewing, which to me sounds really, really weird. Because
phase 4 includes the HMV.
It's basically like assuming that the other teams want to help the Oilers in this scenario.
Well, what they want is for the Oilers to have another GM, much like the last one they had, because that GM did wonders for other teams around the league.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I'm sure the other teams are probably recommending that they rehire Peter Chiarelli because he's still under contract. He's like, Bob, you're already paying the guy. Like, why don't you just bring him back? He took a timeout, got rid of him in January. Why not? Why not? It's like we talked about bringing Todd McClellan back last week. We talked about it. He's already paid. Why not? Just come on back, Todd. Bring your suits. Bring your haircut. Come on in.
No. It's not the same thing.
You're not going to win me over on that one.
Well, what do you think about this idea that Bob Nicholson is going to be representing the Oilers at the GM meetings and he's going to ask his peers for advice? What do you think about that?
It's a very Oilers current regime thing to do. Asking the people that have a vested interest in you not hiring the right guy to hire the right guy is pretty wild.
It's like asking an arsonist if he thinks he should burn your house down. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Of course, we've got Wanye sitting in on the corner. He's got an opinion. He's got a take. Wanye.
Coombsy, tell me no one's really saying Nicholson's going to these meetings to ask for help, is he?
You know, that's exactly what's happening.
Someone said this.
This is the next phase of Edmonton.
Is this like a Coombsy fable, or is this like legitimately reality?
When do I ever make anything up?
That was John Shannon last night.
If I'm like in a street gang, say I'm in like the M13s, the cool one down in Mexico, and there's a war and we're losing, and I like go to all the other street gangs and I'm like, hey, how do you think how I'm running my street gang? Am I doing a good job in the ganging game? Why the hell would anybody who's competing with you help you? This reminds me of the time they made the DVD for Danny Heatley, which I'd love to see. Come on, boys, have a little bit more self-respect than that, for God's sakes. Good radio show, or podcast, rather.
This is so the epitome of why I don't really like Bob Nicholson in this role, because what this reeks to me of is his Hockey Canada background, where everyone's like, he knows all about winning. But back then it was like, oh, I'm putting like the most difficult decision is whether I'm going to have like Claude Giroux or Taylor Hall in my fucking taxi squad.
Devil's advocate over here. In a lot of industries, they're going to pump up their tires of their other guys. Like I know in football, you'll give your assistant coaches a chance to go and head coach somewhere else. What if you're an organization with a lot of guys running down your pipeline, but there's nowhere for them to get to the top? They're like, honestly, we have this guy here. He's assistant to the whoever, and I think he'd be really good, but he's not going to make it in our organization because you can't get there. Like we have so and so and so and so and so and so in front of him. That's where I think they're going. Or he just brought this up to shut up everybody on Twitter because no one thinks they're actually doing the proper search. So he's like, look, we're in stage 3. There's 5 stages. We're in stage 3 of it.
But he also said last week they hadn't started the search. So how are they in phase 3 a week later?
Maybe the first 2 are really quick.
You know what? There's got to be a point where other GMs in the league just feel bad for us and truly want to do their part to help us get out of the stink. I think so.
So here's my thing. Phase 1 was telling people that they hadn't started the search yet.
Yes.
Phase 2 was coming up with what they were going to say phase 3 is, and now we're in phase 3. There you go.
Yep.
Done.
There's no way any GM in the league is going to do favors to the team that has already been like won 4 draft lotteries, and it's probably going to win this year too because
I hear what Rick is saying though. Like there is a certain amount of like professionalism around, and if there's an equipment manager that's had some really good trade ideas and they just don't feel like they can promote him to an AGM position, maybe they suggest him to the Oilers.
Maybe there's some really good posters on HF boards that people have seen. They're like, maybe this guy could have a chance.
Perhaps the Oilers have a broadcaster right in their own backyard who is due for a chance to run the team because he's got hot takes and ideas and has for 100 years. Maybe
he just needs a chance.
Just needs a chance, He just needs a chance.
Oh, bagged milk.
I want to go ahead and thank our friends at Get Sauce for helping us make this all possible. Go check them out at getsauce.com. You can go visit them at 9620 58th Avenue. Or if you want to use your mobile cell phone device, you can give them a call at 780-462-2418. They would be happy to improve the feelings in your mouth. That's what they do. That's what they do. You like tasting things, and they like improving that.
Mouth feelings.
Phase 3 of buying hot sauce is Get Sauce will go and ask all their other hot sauce competitors which the best hot sauces are to buy.
They go over to Frank's Red Hot, and they're just like, hey, what's doing over here, boys?
Which one would you say is our best flavor?
Hey, Frank's Red Hot Sauce, who would you recommend to customers that they should buy for their hot sauce? Would it be us, or would it be you? Would it be something else? I don't know.
A little bit earlier, I talked about the Oilers going through their Ontario road trip. They had a back-to-back set against the Leafs and then the Senators last night. First period against the Leafs, boys, I thought it was going well. I thought the boys were playing well.
First 17 minutes.
And then things the milk went bad, as they say, Dan. 6 minutes of absolute horror, and the Leafs were up 6-1, Coom. As our resident Toronto guy, what did you have to think about the way the Oilers played in Toronto?
I think it showed like the fundamental problem of what the Oilers became. I think the Leafs and Oilers were in a pretty similar spot in 2015. They were both, I don't know if the Oilers were advertently tanking for McDavid like the Leafs were, but they've kind of both, started their rebuild 1 that time. Edmonton started rebuild 3 at that time. And we thought by 2019, these were going to be like the 2 teams in the league, Toronto and Edmonton. They're like, McDavid and Matthews and this and that. But what we saw in Toronto is Edmonton has no depth and no skill. Like after the first period, they tried really hard and played well. And then Toronto just turned on the Jets and absolutely sunk them in 4 minutes with just like wave after wave of like skill.
Kumzi Wanya here. If you're going to be a dick, because we're in phase 3 of rebuild 4, which in software nomenclature means we're 3.4.1 and 1 playoff year in 13 is not enough playoffs for you, fuck you. How's that sound? It sounds to me like you're a real bad Oilers fan, and you just need to trust the process and understand it takes a generation to fix a team.
The key is if I was just more positive about the Oilers, the team would be better. That's what it all comes down to.
All I know is that Cam has been complaining a lot on Twitter, and I can't prove definitively that his complaints have not fallen directly into the dressing room, thus causing the players hardships, upset tummies, and an inability to play. Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Kuhn's being super negative, but I mean,
I'm not.
I mean, it's also like kind
true?
of objective. Like the Leafs just roasted us, and I don't watch the Leafs a lot, but like, did they play really that bad in the first period? Like, or did we play that good? Like, I didn't think it was. I thought we played solid, and I'm just like embarrassed at why we couldn't continue playing like that for 2 more periods.
See, the reason it's particularly agitating is because they're the team Edmonton could be if they had kept all their good players and Peter Chiarelli hadn't just like pissed them away. That's the team the Oilers could be with, Hall and Eberle and Matt Barzal.
I think that's one of my favorite parts about that game against Toronto is all the takes that came out of Toronto, like the MSM coming out afterward and being like, what can the Oilers learn from the Leafs? Well, listen, bro.
Well, we know that.
Don't trade away your fucking players. That's 1. 2, don't hire Peter Chiarelli and let him stick around for 4 years. That's 2. 3, shut up. We already know.
That's the thing about playing the Leafs is we know what we're getting into with their MSM and
their fans.
And their fans. And the Leafs are one of 3 teams I just can't stand losing to. The other 2 being the Ducks and Flames. And it's just like, it grinds my gears just like losing to them and getting roasted by them so bad. It's just awful. It's
I think people just need to stop identifying with the Oilers. Stop making your day revolve around the Oilers. It makes it a lot less painful when they get destroyed.
Do not listen to Dan. Go to OilersNation.com and start clicking around.
Yeah.
Click in all the sub
read about
tabs.
the information.
Go find a sponsor you like. Click on their ads.
But
maybe head on over to nationgear.ca, buy an Oilers Nation tee, wear that everywhere you go, get buried in it, get married in it. Don't listen to Dan is what I'm telling you right now.
It's one of those things. Coombs spitting some truth here, and the truth is hurtful.
Last night, second half of the back-to-back, the Oilers were in Ottawa. Ottawa at the deadline or leading up to the deadline traded their 3 best players. They were basically an AHL team versus 3/4 of an AHL team.
And we got outshot 37-25.
Well, that's what I want to ask. The Senators are so bad. And yes, the Oilers won, and that's what it all amounts to. However, it didn't look like they were always going to do so. What were you all thinking as you were watching the game against the Senators, seeing the Oilers struggle against the worst team in the NHL?
This isn't an official stat. I have to make sure somebody will check for me. But this is the 4th time this season that the Oilers played the last place team at the time that they were playing them. And this is the first time we've won a game in those situations. So, yeah. Pretty good. Good.
So we're improving. We're getting better.
But I agree
Visually
with what Bangkok
better.
is saying that, yeah, it wasn't overall not a great game. If it wasn't for that high stick call that was pretty close.
Here's obvious high stick.
I don't know. It was pretty close. If it wasn't for that, we probably would have been going to overtime at least, and probably in a shootout forever. But yeah, it's frustrating to watch when this team should just be able to roll over a bad team like Ottawa. But hey, we got their head coach fired.
Outside of our top 3, outside of Nuge, Leon, and Connor, our rosters are relatively similar. We have a bunch of guys, and they're actually faster. I'm sorry, we don't have a lot of fast guys. So if you have, in this day and age with the NHL, if you've got fast guys, you can start whipping around our players. Actually, one of our better players was Luch last night. And I don't know where this is coming from, but he actually looked kind of I mean, not $6 million decent, but he has looked somewhat decent in the last little bit. And that's terrifying, really. If Luch is bringing the heat behind the big 3, we have some definite asset management issues that we all know about. We can thank one person for it. And nothing's going to change until we get into the summer where we can start bringing in some different blood, some new type of players, and a new philosophy, because this big hockey just isn't going to do it anymore.
I can't believe you're ignoring the new answer, Sam Gagner, in your list of great players.
Yeah, why didn't you include Gagner as one of the good players on the team? What's going on here? He's on pace for like a 50-goal season, pretty much.
If he can hold that up, then hell yeah, let's go with it. He's going to be a fantastic, maybe a really good 3rd line, 4th line player for us next year.
He's going to bury 20 goals next year.
Top 6, we're still in lots of fucking trouble.
He is the team's 4th best forward right now. We can all agree on that, right?
He's practicing on the 4th line today.
What is that? He's already like 5th in the team in goals with 3.
Yep.
You're right. Some positives of last night's game.
Go ahead, Chris.
Mika Koskinen's bounce back game after
Much better.
Horrific Wednesday night.
That last goal, I think it was against Nylander, the one that got him pulled in Toronto that's a midget fucking goal against.
It looked like a goalie that didn't want to go down for the play.
Unbelievable. Anyway, Chris, go ahead.
Number 2, we only took one. Our penalty kill has been horrific, and we only took 1 penalty last night, which is awesome. And number 3, Colby Cave finally.
Yes.
Let's talk about Colby Cave, because there is some news surrounding this player. Young Cameron Lewis made a bet with...
Did you just dox me on the podcast?
I did.
That's Coombe to you.
Young at Coombe Lewis made a bet with friend of the nation, Sam Akehurst, via Twitter. Cam, please explain the bet.
So one day, I have no idea how this came up, but Colby Cave was claimed on waivers. Chatting about Colby Cave on Twitter, I was getting real excited. I was like, Colby Cave could be the answer. And this salmon slides into my mentions, and he says he would buy a Colby Cave jersey. So we came up with a little prop bet, which has kind of been my thing all year. Just like how you guys know, I got some fun things planned for you at the end of the Lucic draft. It's kind of one big giant prop bet. But anyways, I was real fired up about prop bets. So I bet this guy, if Colby Cave scores a goal with the Oilers this season, you have to buy an authentic Colby Cave jersey. And he said, absolutely. But if he doesn't score a goal for the Oilers this season, you have to buy a Peter Chiarelli Oilers jersey and wear it visibly to every single game you go to next season.
So you would have had to buy the jersey
Yes.
had Colby Cave not scored.
And I was going to get Mike Chiarelli jersey, I was ready. I was nervous. Colby thought he might not score a goal this year. I was going to get Chiarelli with the number 1 on the back for one trade.
So last night, Colby Cave comes through in the clutch, pops home a goal.
Unmarked.
He's just like sliding in there like a ghost he is. Sliding in there, scores past Anderson, gets the goal. Sam Akehurst, Cam called him out immediately.
I was ready. I had the tweet saved in my notes on my phone. I was ready to rock. I was like, when Colby scores his goal, I'm posting this on the Twitter immediately.
And to his credit, Sam said last night he is going to follow through with his end and he's going to get the Colby Cave jersey. And I can't wait to see it, to be honest.
I think it's going to be a great unicorn to have. As the proud owner of a Ladislav Schmid Oilers jersey, I think those are the best kind of jerseys you can have. Like you go to an arena, everyone's got a McDavid jersey, everyone's got a Ryan Smith jersey, whatever. But when you're the kind of person rocking a Colby Cave jersey, that means you've been to hell and back with this franchise.
Yeah, like real fans get obscure jerseys. You know? Like every now and then you cruise around, you see like a Samsonov or something walking around and you're like, wow, that guy's been seeing some shit.
The Roman Hammerlick jersey, that's a cool one.
At that Islanders game, I saw the Doug Glatt Edmonton Oilers jersey, number 69.
See, somebody got that. Why not?
It's cool.
Why not? Chris, if you're going to get an obscure Oilers jersey, who'd you pick? I'll start. I'd go ahead with Sean Van Allen. You probably don't even remember Sean Van Allen, Chris.
Would you call Teddy Peckman obscure?
Oh, that'd be a nice one. Teddy Peckman.
That's what I'd go with.
Oh, nice. Dan?
That's a good question. I'm racking my brain here. I feel like a Marty Reisner would be a solid one, although a lot of people had his jersey back then.
He was a popular player back then. He was a big part of us back then. I'm going with number 36, Dennis Bonvie. I got a little story behind that I'll tell you guys one day. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Dennis Bonvie.
I think if my Schmid jersey wasn't random enough, I would go get a late 90s Jim Dowd jersey.
Oh, that'd be nice too. That'd be really nice.
You know what? I would do Sean Brown. Big Sean Brown guy.
Or like my backup, I said Sean Van Allen would be my go-to. I think a Mats Lindgren would also be nice. Oh, yeah. That'd be really, really nice. Now, maybe a Bernie Nichols.
I would like also another cool one to get would be a good player who played here randomly, like Adam Oates.
Yeah, sure.
Or Peter Nedved.
Yeah, but like the second time.
Yeah, Peter Nedved.
Miroslav Shatan.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Sikora would be great. Rick said behind me. There's a lot of great options. Maybe a Freddie Brathwaite, Chris, for the goalie guild.
Sure.
Mike Morrison, shootout specialist.
Jacques Plante. How about a Jim Corsi jersey? Just says Corsi on the back.
Yeah,
he played here.
You know, it'd be kind of a cool jersey to have is a Thomas Vanek Oilers jersey.
From the offer sheet that would have cost us Taylor Hall and a whole bunch of shit. Thank you, Buffalo, for not letting that one go through. As somebody mentioned earlier, last night the Oilers beat the Senators, and the Sens came out this morning and fired Guy Boucher. Now he can get back to his dream and his passion of being a Russian extra in a World War II film.
He looks like one of the just like random bad guys in like GoldenEye.
Exactly.
That just pops up.
100%. He could be any villain in a James Bond movie. Anyone.
Is it also like incredibly damning that they chose to fire him after a loss to the Oilers?
Well, that's what I love. I love that losing to the Oilers now is a fireable offense. Like, how bad have things gotten? So Pierre Dorion said this morning, this is from Frank Saravalli. Pierre Dorion said this morning he met with the Sens players. I told him that our play recently was not acceptable. He said he told him there is no more excuses. Now, where I sit, I can't help but think that trading away your 3 best players is kind of an excuse. I mean, I don't want to come up with excuses for the Sens. I'm not a Sens guy. Could be, but I'm not. Maybe get myself a Yashin jersey, Chris. However,
maybe get yourself a Puljujarvi jersey.
You know what? I was thinking about Magnus Puljujarvi last night, and I was at a preseason game against the Tampa Bay Lightning when he came out and scored a hat trick, and I thought, holy hell. I wagered with my friend that he was going to be the best of those 3. Boy, was I wrong.
In 2007, I so vividly remember this. I have a Hockey News magazine draft previous 2007, and you usually talk about like the draft that year, but they were looking way far ahead because this was right after Tavares' age 15 season. And they were like, 2009 draft. Who do you want, John Tavares or Magnus Puljujarvi?
Yeah, he was still Puljujarvi Svensson at the time.
Puljujarvi Svensson. MPS.
I mean, it's been interesting to see his career. He's grinded out kind of a bottom 6 role. He's got 8 goals again this year. I think that's kind of been his total for the last few years after scoring, I think, off the top of my head, 15 in his rookie season as an Oiler.
He's never come close to touching that.
No, and it's just been interesting to see that how he's gone. And actually, you know what? The Oilers, he was one of the few players that the Oilers, I believe it was Mac T at the time, traded at a good spot.
Yeah, for Perron.
They moved him in a second-round pick for David Perron. David Perron came and had a career-best 28 goals the following season. Everybody's like, holy hell, we want to trade.
And then they traded Perron to Pittsburgh, and they got a mid-first-round pick that they used on Griffin Reinhart.
Cam, you're just a bearer of good news, aren't you? So I want to know what you guys think about Pierre Dorion saying that the Sens have no excuse and that their play was not acceptable, given the fact that they traded their best players.
Sorry.
Just quickly, so like 4 games ago for the Senators, they traded Matt Duchene. Then they lost the next 2 games, obviously. Trade deadline happens. They trade Mark Stone, and then they lose the next 2 games after that. I don't know what else you expect from this team. They have nothing left. Like they shouldn't win it. They shouldn't win a game for the rest of the season.
Brent Wallace just tweeted out a quote from Dorian this morning that says, "We are fielding a team that can win games."
Okay.
And then Craig Button responded.
Yeah.
Craig Button responded with, "Just not in the NHL."
Buttons drops the mic. Buttons drops the mic. Okay. What is it with management of poor teams saying that they're really going for it or whatever? Is it just trying to create positivity around a team that doesn't really deserve it? What do you think that is?
That is selling tickets.
But is it like people should be able to see right through that?
Yes.
In most cases, I think what the Rangers did last year, or it was 2 years ago, when they brought out their little note, they sent a letter to everybody, said, "Hey, listen, guys, we screwed up for the last little bit. I'm sorry. Please don't hate us. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna start fresh. Blah 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 blah." Everybody thought that was fantastic. I think you can do that in a market like that, like New York. I think you can. Right now, you can do that in Ottawa, but you cannot. You cannot do that here. I know a lot of people want to think, or they should do what the Rangers did. You can't get away with doing that here. There's no way they can. First of all, they wouldn't do it. Their egos are all way too large. And 2, you can't just admit that. So you got to sit there, take your punches, and hope that you're going to one-punch somebody and get back in the fight.
I disagree, though, because they haven't been doing it over the last 14 years. And look what? Oh, yeah. And in the last 5 years, they haven't done it. And look at the relationship between the fans and management right now. Imagine if they did do that. I think they should try it, see what happens.
The Senators' official news release said, Mark Crawford named interim head coach of rebuilding Ottawa Senators. They're throwing in the word rebuilding as a part of their name now.
Yeah, with us, we never got, oh man, we mismanaged. Instead, we got stuff like, oh, I know something about winning, and oh,
we have 2 tiers of fans.
Yeah, you're a tier 2 fan. Stuff like that. It's like, come on, I've legitimately seen more blame put on the fans for the Oilers being absolute ass than the management.
Well, first you blame the coaches, right? You fire the coaches. When that doesn't work, you got to blame somebody. You can't blame the management. You're not going to point a finger at yourself. So you got to blame the fans.
You got to blame the fans.
Right?
It's reasonable.
Gentlemen, I want to go ahead and announce a monumental moment in the podcast as we welcome Pog Air Purifier as a third sponsor to Oilers Nation Radio. If you don't know, Pog is an air purifier that sends out ozone, and it will de-stinkify your entire life. All the boys at the table here, we all have one. We are all using them in our homes. My house stinks like Frank. He's adorable as all fuck. However, he smells. He smells like Doritos, in fact. It's weird. I don't know why he smells like Doritos, but he does. And I don't like it when it's on my couch. Thankfully, Pog is here to help. You can go to thepogstore.com. You can see about it for yourself. It's going to get ready. It's going to de-stinkify your sports equipment. It's going to get rid of airborne viruses, pet odors, smoke, kitchen odors, outdoor activities. Make sure your tent is smelling fresh, Chris.
Yeah. I use mine for my hockey equipment.
And that is some of the stinkiest equipment I've ever...
You've never smelt it before.
Yes, I have. I was in a car with you filming a video and you're full goalie equipment.
We also went to your apartment.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to die.
So it's safe to say that I really needed the Pog. And I just set it up in my little closet, my apartment, turn it on.
With your cooking equipment and your waffle iron?
Oh yeah, I got everything in that closet.
Just de-stinkify them gloves, man.
Exactly.
How's it working?
Great. I'm
course it
creating a video tribute to the Pog that I'll be releasing soon. We'll all be releasing one soon.
You sound too excited about this video.
Yeah, I'm stoked for it.
Should be.
Yep.
Dan, where are you using your Pog?
My stinky feet. My shoes are quite raunchy during the winter when they get wet, and the Pog, just tuck them in a bag with the mobile unit that they have, and oh boy does that fix it.
Cam, I know you have issues with your car smelling like your equipment. You also play many a sport.
Yes.
How's it going in your vehicle?
I put it in my vehicle because I am a player of the ice hockey and a player of the ball hockey. That is 2 different kinds of hockey and 1 pair of gloves.
No field hockey though, huh?
No field hockey. Yeah.
No baseball.
No, also underwater hockey either. It's not a thing for me.
Oh,
That should be a thing.
It is a thing. It's not a thing for me.
Is it?
I can't hold my breath for that long. It is a thing. People,
That'd be hard.
you got like a little puck at the bottom, and you go underwater, and you're trying to do the.
That's
Yeah,
too much.
yeah.
It's mini sticks underwater. It honestly sounds like something that would happen in a nightmare. Like you're playing hockey, and all of a sudden you can't breathe, and you wake up, and you're like one of those kind of things.
Breathe new life into your equipment, or at least let people breathe when they are around you. Use the Pog to clean the HE double hockey sticks out of your gear. The Pog isn't just for hockey gear, though. You can use it anywhere in your home or vehicle. If you don't need it, guarantee you know somebody who does. Go check out thepogstore.com. Check it out. You're going to want one because it's going to make your whole life smell better. Now, this week, just yesterday, in fact, Jason Gregor on OilersNation.com broke the news that Jesse Puljujarvi will be missing the rest of the season because he's got to get a hip surgery. He's got a little bit of an issue that needs to be corrected given where the Oilers are at right now. Makes a whole lot of sense to get this done now. Just move on.
Hold on. He's 20 years old. Why does he need hip surgery?
Oh boy. So what Dan's talking about is yesterday Jim Matheson tweeted, how does a 20-year-old skater need hip surgery? You'd think that was a goalie or whatever he says. I'm paraphrasing. The responses to that tweet. Oh man, they were magic.
Does Jim do that just to get the responses?
I don't know, because he was like in the mix, like replying to people that were getting back to him. Because part of me thinks it's just like I like to do that sometimes, where I'll just throw a grenade and I just like back away and be like, "See you later." But I don't know. However, back to Jesse. What do you guys think about this injury? To me, I think the whole weird thing is just how the news came out. He was in a warm-up against the Islanders a couple of weeks ago. He came out as a healthy scratch, and then he was injured, and then he was supposed to go down to Bakersfield, and then he needed a second opinion because he needed to get surgery, but then he maybe didn't need to get surgery. Now he does need surgery, and he's off to New York to get this done, and he is done for the year. Chris, what are your thoughts on Jesse Puljujarvi?
Well, for the longest time, like he's not having a successful season. In the back of your mind, you always kind of think like, what if there's something? What if there's something? And obviously you don't want to use it as an excuse. But now I'm kind of like, you're almost relieved that it's like, all right, well, I mean, if it was hurting him for a while he was skating, like, I wonder what he's going to do next year when he's 100%. And I'm excited for next year. And I'm glad that the issue is being resolved. And I look forward to what he can be like afterwards.
The 30 for 30 that they do about how the Oilers, how the Oilers handled Jesse Puljujarvi's career is going to be epic. And this is just another brick in that wall. Dusty mentioned that he's been complaining about issues coming into the season and had been mentioning it to people that he was dealing with some weird pain. And, here we are just 60 games later. And then they finally go to get him to get a second opinion.
Well, it's definitely been bugging him all year. And I know what it's really done is affected how much he can battle. So he's been getting knocked off the puck a little bit easier than he normally would be able to. He just doesn't have that ability to explode through the right side of his body. That creates too much pain for him to be able to fight anybody off. That's going to affect a lot of things. He's been staying on the outside a lot. Everyone said, "Oh, he's playing on the perimeter. He can't get inside." Well, guess what? If you don't have that ability to be able to push in through some of these defensemen, it's gonna keep you on the outside. Again, along the boards. He's got some days where he can toss a guy off, and there's some days where he's getting knocked over. Same thing. If he's not able to, drop his ass a little bit towards the ground and lower his center of gravity to be able to battle guys properly, because he is so damn big, it's gonna affect his game. So he's gonna go down there. I think surgery's on Monday. He'll spend a couple weeks down there. just recouping. It's going to be a while. He's not going to be able to walk right away. I think he comes back here for a little while, and then, obviously he gets to the off season and it's time to start training. They got a deal on his contract this year. We're going to get to a point next year, though, where I'm fairly confident we don't move him. I think we're going to need a guy who's going to be somewhat cheap, and he's going to be somewhat cheap. His career really hasn't taken off the way he wants to yet. So he's going to sign a 1 or 2 year deal, I'm guessing, at a relatively small number. Well, small for a hockey player. I'd take that contract in a second. So it's going to be actually going to work really well for us, because next year he'll be able to get into that top 6. He's going to be confident. He's going to be strong. He's going to be able to take that next step in his career. And I know everyone's been up and down on him. He smiles that big, that means he frowns that big. He's a very emotional guy.
That was deep.
That was very deep.
I told Vaughn that the other day. He told me I had to get it in here, so I had to try to figure out how to get it in. Anyways, when he gets to the point where he can be smiling again and just be excited and be happy to be at the rink and want to play and be able to do what he wants to be able to do on the ice, you're going to see a whole different version of him.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I think he did buy himself another year here, at least another year, because the fact that he was playing injured. I think he deserves another chance, and the others will give him one.
Well, and also there's the idea too that he's going to have a new coach again next year. That's a fresh start.
Yep.
New GM, another fresh start. You got to think that the new GM would want to at least have a look at a healthy Jesse Puljujarvi before deciding to pull the trigger on a trade that moves a kid like that out.
And you almost feel bad for him. I imagine there was a tweet, I think Dustin Nielsen sent it out, that he's been complaining about that his legs aren't feeling well. Yeah, they'd be off sometimes. Imagine just the language barrier. What if this was much more serious than we thought a month ago, but there was some kind of language barrier between him and the trainers that they just didn't really look too much into it.
They were like, "Hey, Jesse, how's your game going?" He's like, "My hip." And then they were like, "Oh, yes, we really are sad about the tragedy as well."
He's just in the dressing room yelling hip, 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 and then they throw on Hips Don't Lie by Shakira.
Yeah, I was going to say Hips Don't Lie by Shakira. That's the jam. It's one of those things. I think that I'm going to give the organization the benefit of the doubt. I don't think a lot of people do, and I understand why, because they're bad and blah, blah, blah. We all know that. I bet surgery, that getting it to this point was a last resort. They tried to do the rehab. They tried to do all those non-invasive kind of options before getting here. And then with the season being where it's at, well, why not just shut them down? Get it done. Plenty of time before next season starts. You can get back. Get those legs under you, my friend, because they need them. I just think about how he was flying around in the preseason. I know it's different. Of course it is. But he looked a lot more powerful on his skates. And it starts to make a little bit more sense when he's got to get hip surgery to correct it as to where that speed kind of went. Anybody? Yes? Thank you.
Yes.
See, I think we've already watched Puljujarvi play his last game as an Oiler, and I think they're going to pull the trigger on a deal in the off season for kind of another reclamation project, like we saw when Dylan Strome got traded away from Arizona and they got back Nick Schmaltz. I think we're going to see that kind of trade. There's got to be another, struggling winger, struggling defenseman out there. I think that the fact that Puljujarvi was injured this year helps raise his value in a trade, because they're like, oh, there's a reason he had 4 points this season. He's injured. He's still really good. And then maybe they can use that to
and there's also
his value in a trade.
There's also the angle that Larry Brooks said at the deadline day, saying if Puljujarvi, or if they're going to get rid of a guy like Lucic, they're going to have to add in a Puljujarvi or something to sweeten that deal. So maybe that's what they do. Maybe they pull the trigger on a Puljujarvi trade just to rid themselves of Milan Lucic, and that's the only way to get it done, because you can't have him on the team for another 4 years making $6 million, and he's on pace to get 14 points less than he got last year.
So if you have to use Puljujarvi to get rid of Lucic, it makes that whole, you have to view it as Hall for Lucic, Larson, and Puljujarvi. A lot more dizzying, doesn't it?
Of course.
I guess it depends on the return. Would you make that deal? Package them, add in Puljujarvi just to rid the Lucic contract?
I think I'd be tough to pull that trigger. If I was the guy coming in here, when's Seattle coming in? Not next season, but the season after?
Yeah.
Okay, so technically you could have one more year of Lucic and then be able to buy him out, right? That's where you get the free buyout, when the team comes in?
It's a speculation if there's a lockout in 2021, which I imagine there's going to be, then we might get compliance buyouts again.
Yeah,
So
but we
you
should,
could
get a compliance buyout for the expansion, no?
No, just for the lockout, because what might happen is the salary cap might go down again, like what happened in, 2013? So teams might get compliance buyouts again, but it won't be expansion related.
Well, then honestly, I don't think you're going to have to include a Puljujarvi to move Lucic. I think you can move Lucic come this summer and maybe one more summer after that. You may have to eat $1 million off his contract, or you may just get a bad contract back. Like, I mean, right now I'd be going to LA and go, let's flip Lucic for Kovalchuk right now. And you know what? I'll still eat $1 million off that because Luch has 2 more years left. There's other options out there than having to package in a guy with the potential still of Jesse Puljujarvi, that you don't have to do that right now. I think that'd be just a dumb move. It wouldn't be a smart move just to try and move a guy like Lucic. Lucic is fine on the fourth line. The only thing that's getting in his issue is his pay. If we can get some of the other issues out for dollar-wise, we're going to have a lot of cheaper guys coming in right away, coming off Bakersfield. You can sit there on the Lucic contract for another year or two. The cap goes up again. It's going to go up the year after that too. It's not going to be as bad. Like, I know he's not great, but if you can put him on the fourth line, he hasn't looked horrible with Curry and whoever he's got out there right now.
Colby Cave.
Yeah. So I think you sit there and you try and eat Lucic for one more year, or you try and move him in a different deal. You do not package up an unknown prospect in Puljujarvi, because he could still come back and bite you.
I think we also saw, like I mentioned with the Dylan Strome thing, it's another example not to trade Puljujarvi, because since Strome ended up in Chicago, he's been a point per game player.
He's been very effective in Chicago.
Real good.
It's interesting how just a change of venue completely changed that guy's career outlook around. And I would rather not see that with Jesse Puljujarvi. I'd rather not see him end up as a fucking Carolina Hurricane or something, and he's just like ripping it up.
A counterpoint to that, though, would be the Duclair fiasco or saga that's been going on, where he got traded away from Arizona, and then he went to Columbus, and he failed there, and now he's in Ottawa, and it's his 5th team, and coaches are telling me he doesn't even know how to play.
Yakupov?
Yeah.
How dare you? Yak's got 20 plus goals in the KHL this year. He's having a fine time.
Bring back Yak.
I want to go ahead and thank all 3 of our sponsors, Sherwood Ford, Get Sauced, and Pog, for making this all possible. Boys, I want to end off this week's podcast. We got another segment here to do by looking at what happened in New York last night. John Tavares made his return to the island. It was a much hyped return, obviously. We've seen it here when Taylor Hall came back. Obviously, there was Gretzky, if you go back further in that. I want to get your take on how Islanders fans reacted. I want to get your take on the videos that were made pre-game. With the whole experience. And Chris, I want to start with you. I know I saw you on Twitter last night. You said it was a little bit embarrassing or something like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was saying on Twitter last night that if I'm an Islanders fan, I'd be embarrassed to be part of that fan base. Admittedly, I did enjoy the chants. Like, I do like the chants, and some of the creative ones they came out with in the third period were great. Personal favorite, It's Past Your Bedtime. Really like that one. But all the other stuff, like outside of the game, throwing snakes on the ice, throwing a jersey at him, lighting jerseys on fire, making that embarrassing, stupid video beforehand, driving over jerseys. Like, that's embarrassing. Like that, like, I think they would show a little bit more respect to their former captain. He's a grown adult, and he did what he needed to do to like get paid and win a cup. And how can you blame him for wanting to go back to Toronto?
So I think some of the Islander players even came out and spoke out against that news organization that put together that over-the-top video.
God, that was bad.
And I agree with you that throwing your jersey and throwing fake snakes on the ice while the players are playing the game is just dangerous. But I loved the atmosphere. I loved how it fired up the Islanders players, and it felt like a playoff game. And I mean, it will be a playoff game probably at some point. But yeah, it was cool to see a fan base that I think as much as a right that John Tavares has to leave New York, the fan base has just as much of a right to boo him and cheer against him and chant against him and all that. I just don't think that throwing the stuff at him is okay.
Yeah, I think there's a line that they should stay on.
But every fan base has its idiots. We have people that have thrown jerseys on the ice too, and it just, you know, it doesn't make the entire fan base embarrassed. But
we all shit on the guy that threw the jersey on the ice a few weeks ago. We all
100%.
said, like, donate that thing to charity, grow the fuck up.
100%. But I'm not embarrassed to be an Oilers fan now because that guy threw it.
No, I just think that guy's a big time dumbass.
Exactly. I think I thought it was great. The chants were so original and thematic. It was good.
I don't know. Yeah, like everything that happened inside the rink was phenomenal. Outside of it was absolutely ridiculous. Get over it. You guys are sitting there crying, and honestly, I couldn't even wrap my head around that. I thought that stuff had to be, some of it had to be fake. Somebody had to like try and get to do it to just get in his head or something stupid. However, inside the rink, that's fantastic. I grew up, I remember the late 90s. There would be a 7:00 game, and they'd open up Rexall at 5:00, and Dallas would be skating around, and you'd have 14,000 people in there already chanting Belfour. Those are incredible moments in 06. And the only thing I didn't like about inside the arena was the asshole chant. Like I find it funny, but you've got kids there and you really shouldn't do that. But I can't say anything because in 06 we did have like the Let's Go Oilers, fuck you, Chichu. So I understand where I really can't. Obviously, I've grown up a lot in those 13 years. Therefore, that's why I can say this now. But yeah, no, inside the arena, honestly, I think we should do it every game. Find one person on that team and you ride them all game long. It keeps the fans involved. It makes it a fun to go to. Your team wins or loses now, it means even a little bit less because you went there, you had fun. It's like English soccer. They sit there, they can be 20th out of 20 teams, know you're going to lose, and those guys are standing up, they're lighting shit on fire, they're chanting the whole damn time because that's just what you do.
Yeah, I think I enjoy the chants. What do you guys think of them booing him throughout the entire 2-minute tribute video?
I thought that was hilarious.
It's funny.
It's
everything,
so funny.
Everything that happened in the stadium is fine. It's just the Islanders have to have some amount of self-awareness here, man. Come on. Like, look, if you're a New York Islanders fan, look at that franchise. It's so bad. Why would you want to play there? Like, the number one indication for me, someone pointed this out on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but it was like, I didn't know where the Islanders were playing last night. Was it at Nassau or was it at Barclays? That's probably a key reason why Tavares didn't want to sign there. Like the franchise is in fucking shambles. Garth Snow is their GM. Like, look at all the moves he did. Like, they did a worse job surrounding that guy with talent than Chiarelli did surrounding McDavid with talent. They're so bad.
You're right, but they're currently sitting on top of the Metro division.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with Tavares leaving and the Trotz coming in and the team getting fired up. And like, but still, like, man, he gave you your only playoff series win in the 9 years that he was there. He signed that stupidly team-friendly deal. Your GM couldn't accomplish anything. Like, I'm pro player. Players deserve, he worked for 9 years to grant the free agency to play for his childhood team. Like, let him do his thing.
The one thing I loved about last night is how the Islanders just pumped the Leafs. And if there's one way to get back at a player you hate, it's to crush them and then chant, "We don't need you."
I think if the Leafs have learned one thing, it is that they wasted all their offense on the Oilers, and teams shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that's a funny one. So the Leafs fans are all in line against the Oilers, talking about how the Oilers aren't a real NHL team. And then suddenly 24 hours later, it's not fair that they're playing the second night of a back-to-back. It's a very convenient shift.
Torched.
Very convenient shift.
Like, all I could think about was, to me, I love it. It's like, it's what sports is all about. It's about getting fired up. And yeah, don't chant asshole, because Rick was right. There are kids in the building and they don't need to hear it. They'll hear enough of it at school from each other. But the ones like, "We don't need you. Where's your jammies? It's your bedtime." Like, that's great stuff. And the fact that they were all in on it and you could just hear it raining down that's fantastic. During the tribute video, John Tavares comes out and does a little lap and claps, and like the boos were just roaring down. And I just thought it was so funny. Like, I have a hard time criticizing Islanders fans when I'm part of a fan base that burned Chris Pronger's furniture. Like, let's not pretend like it doesn't happen anywhere, or like I saw some last night, some Vancouver fans being like, that's embarrassing. Well, listen, you guys burned your fucking city down twice.
Because you lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Like, let's pump the brakes here. I saw a lot of people pointing fingers, and all I could think about was that Spider-Man meme where it's like pointing back at each other. Like, all right, everybody gets a little bit out of hand.
Speaking of pointing fingers, I do not want to see any of these New York Islanders fans who also happen to be New York Yankees fans ever get excited about a free agent signing ever again.
Go ahead. Why?
Well, I mean, they're mad that they lost their star guy, and the Yankees routinely pillage star players from other teams. And of course, it's fine. It's part of the game. They have.
I think every Islanders fan is a Mets fan.
Nobody is a Mets fan. There's no such thing as a New York Mets fan. That's not the stadium is empty. It's like that team exists as a simulation. It's not even real. The hypocrisy of these New York sports fans is unfathomable to me. But sure, I mean, you bought your ticket, boo as much as you want, but like, I hope that the Islanders now hand out diapers at games because their fans are all covered in piss.
Okay. Well, I don't know where you go from there. So I will go ahead and catch us all up on the Lucic goal draft because I had an idea. I had an idea for a side bet.
I'm sick of this draft.
That's because you
are eliminated.
You basically have no games left. I'm looking at it. Chris has 2 games left. You've got Buffalo on Monday, and then you've got Vegas on April 1st. And then you're done, my friend. You're done.
Yeah, Lucic.
I was thinking about adding in the side Windicate where we throw in a 1 goal counts for 2 for Tobias Reeder.
Come on.
Thoughts?
And we're adding we're doing a new draft. Do we keep our remaining games?
No, we would keep the remaining games for Lucic, but then we redraft the remaining ones for Tobias Reeder.
Right, so I could have Lucic, you could have Lucic one night, and I have Reeder the same night.
Exactly.
So you get a Lucic goal, and then Reeder buries one, and I double you up.
Exactly.
How about here we go? No. How about this? For every game that we have Reeder, every game that we have Lucic, Kuhn gets Reeder. And then that way, the 3 of us pool our goals together.
Because I feel like
we get Reeder on your nights.
If you guys are coming together to go up against me, I need some kind of advantage.
Well, that's the advantage right there. You get Reeder 3 times as many times.
So, like, I've got, as an example for Dan's idea, I've got 6 games left.
Right.
So that would be 6 Reeder games for you.
There
if
you
we're
go.
pooling Rick, myself, and Dan.
And not Chris, because Chris is
obviously
the
not
devil.
Chris, of course.
Chris is getting that tattoo, man. It's game over.
So Cam, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 games left. So that would be 4 Reeder games in our pool.
Okay.
For
Full marks to Bag Milk for coming up with this one.
For your 4 remaining games, we would have a Reeder goal in our pool. And then our remaining games where we have a lot, Dan and I have a lot of games. Rick's sprinkled in here with a single. Where we have our Lucic games picked, and then you could potentially get Reeder goals added onto your 3-1 total. Chris is just sitting in the sidelines by himself.
Okay. So I'm not in this
You're
one.
good with this? You're good with this, Kuhn, as a Windicate?
How many Reeder games do I get?
Well, you would get a lot because there's...
I get a lot. And you guys only get 4?
The bulk of them, we would only get 4 Reeder games because you've only got 4 Lucic games left in your original draft.
And I still get to pick like a really crazy fucked up thing for you guys to do if I win it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we still the rest of the bet maintains itself. We are just adding in another layer because there's not a whole lot of offense going on in this goal draft right now.
So you guys are counting on Lucic outscoring.
Yeah.
Yes, the 3 of us, Dan, Rick, and I.
Not Chris.
Just one more
Chris.
time, just to repeat: Dan, myself, and Rick, the No Chris Club.
No Chris is
going
allowed.
Together in a Windicate against Coombe. However, our games would offer Cam a Reeder pick. Cam has 4 Lucic games left, which would be 4 Reeder games for our threesome Windicate, Chris excluded.
Okay. This is not complicated at all. This is fine. All right, sure. Yeah, I can do that. I'll add a little bit of spice.
We got
into
a
the mix.
Windicate.
Nicely done.
I'm
Bag
not
Milk.
scared.
We've got a Windicate here, gentlemen, and I feel good about this, boys. We've got a lot of Lucic games coming up. We're going to have 4 Reeder games in there. Oh. We've got 1 goal from Dan.
Yep.
We just need something from Rick and I. Right. We've got something going here, boys.
What a day. We got a lot of things done today.
We got a lot done today. I want to go ahead and thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. I want to thank Get Sauce. And I want to thank Pog for coming on as our third sponsor, making this all happen. Thank you so much for listening. Please tell a friend. Please subscribe. Please rate us on iTunes and wherever else you get your podcast information. Jared, who playing?
Damian LaGrange. Good man from Red Deer.
Shout out Damien.
Best wishes.